Welcome to US-based news channel. Intensity of the operations on the Eastern Front is increasing. Ukrainian armed forces prevented the Russian army. HIMARS missile systems activated. Increasing mutual attacks on the Donetsk front in the last few days have started to put the Russian soldiers under a strain. Russian soldiers took action after the Ukrainian army carried out record attacks with Vampire missile systems in Donetsk. Russian army, which started simultaneous operations on 4 fronts, is having difficulty reaching its goal. After the Ukrainian armed forces began to advance in Bakhmut in recent weeks, Russian soldiers began operations in Soledar. These operations, on the other hand, were launched over Soledar so that they could advance to the Bakhmut region. Moreover, the operations on this front are still being increased and continued. Ukrainian armed forces attacked Russian military points on this front with American-made HIMARS missile systems. Ukrainian army started to increase its attacks with these systems in order not to completely lose its dominance in the region. Moreover, it was reported that the hit points were seriously damaged and flames rose from these points. After the strong explosions, the anxiety in the region started to increase for both sides. As it is known, it will be easier to enter Bakhmut if full control is achieved in this Soledar area. For this reason, violent conflicts in the region are increasing. Moreover, it has been reported that the Russian army is trying to advance on 4 fronts at the same time. Russian forces, which launched the offensive for the Bakhmut region, also increased the offensive effort for the Lyman, Novopavlivka, and Avdiivka regions. It seems that Russia does not want to give up this Donetsk front. For this front, mutual attacks in key regions are increasing day by day. However, since the Ukrainian armed forces prevented many of these attacks, each of these regions became the regions where Russia suffered the most losses. Despite all this, Russian soldiers continue their efforts to attack. It is known that the reason for this is the importance of the region. As a reminder, this region has many border regions, logistics points, and critical industrial centers. In fact, the armies of the two countries also carry out military shipment flows over this region. These situations cause the control situation to become obligatory and many losses are incurred for the sake of it. At the same time, it is known that one of the reasons for Russia to start the war was Donbass, where this region is located. For these reasons, there is a great pressure on the soldiers on one side. Soldiers, who have not been successful in these regions for months, may have made it a target to prove themselves to the Russian president. Moreover, 4 armies are also involved in the war on this Eastern Front. One of these armies is the Ukrainian army, the Russian army, the Wagner Group Russian mercenaries, and the other is Chechen soldiers. Although these 3 armies unite and fight against the Ukrainian army, they still cannot achieve success. This indicates that problems may have erupted among themselves. It was previously reported that clashes took place between these Chechen soldiers and Russian soldiers, and that they could not get along well with the Russian mercenaries. This makes it much more difficult for them to adapt and achieve success in operations. This ensures that the Ukrainian army, which advances in harmony and makes strategic moves, gains a great advantage. Moreover, if full dominance is achieved on this Eastern Front, the flow of military shipments provided by Russia to Ukraine will become even more difficult. Because Russia, which provides military logistics flow from border regions via land and rail, will have difficulty in advancing if it completely loses these regions. This situation will force Russia to carry out military shipments by sea. However, being able to transport military equipment in this way is very limited. Moreover, the increasing dominance of the Ukrainian army in the regions bordering the sea also complicates this situation. On the other hand, it was reported that the General Staff meeting was held under the chairmanship of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, where the situation in Bakhmut and Soledar regions was discussed. Zelensky said, "We held a staff meeting of the Commander-in-Chief. We discussed the situation on the main fronts. Particular attention was paid to the battles in Bakhmut and Soledar. In addition, it was mentioned that the Ukrainian army should be strengthened with military equipment and weapons from the partners. If these military supports and important equipment continue to increase, the Ukrainian armed forces will have a critical advantage. Is of critical importance. The Ukrainian army, which became stronger thanks to these military equipment, destroyed 6 armored combat vehicles, 7 tanks, 4 artillery systems, several unmanned aerial vehicles, and 13 tankers of the Russian forces. Explosion sounds echoed from these military equipment in the regions. Moreover, more than 500 Russian soldiers were neutralized during the day. Losing hundreds of soldiers every day, Russia is experiencing a significant decrease in its operational power on land and in the air. This makes it difficult for the attacks to be carried out by the Russian army. Russia, which is currently dealing with serious problems, is struggling even more after these losses. Ukrainian Air Force, on the other hand, carried out nearly 10 airstrikes on critical areas where Russian troops were concentrated. On the other hand, Ukrainian rocket and artillery units hit 2 Russian command centers, 3 ammunition storage points and 10 more important points of the Russian troops. As a result of these points hit, flames rose from the regions. Although these moves make it more difficult to compensate for the losses on the Russian side, Russia's correct counterattacks continue. Russia again launched airstrikes across Ukraine. However, almost all of these attacks were prevented. This situation causes Russian ammunition to be completely wasted. Moreover, even the cruise missiles used in these attacks cause a very high cost. For Moscow, which is already dealing with significant military and economic problems, these wasted attacks play a much more critical role. It is thought that Russia carried out these missile attacks from its ships stationed on the Black Sea with caliber cruise missiles. To remind you, the Russian soldiers gave signals that they could launch an attack on these regions, and redeployed their ships loaded with cruise missiles to the Black Sea waters. As a result of the attacks launched from these ships, infrastructures were targeted again. Moreover, most of the attacks were blocked and destroyed. This situation also increases the tension in Moscow. As it is known, Russia's missile stock is slowly starting to run out. In fact, in recent weeks, according to estimates from Ukraine, it was claimed that Russia had enough stock to carry out the last few major missile strikes. Although these predictions hold true, Russia is now starting to try its last chances on the front with these missile attacks. Unless he succeeds in this, he will have to face even bigger problems. Now, every step taken on the fronts and all the decisions made about the war are of much greater importance. In the future, it will become clearer which side can be successful in strategic moves. Now every step taken is more important than the previous one. For this reason, every move must be carried out in a much more strategic direction. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.